Good evening and welcome. I'm Kate Braystrup. I'm the chaplain to the Maine Warden Service. The agency... What? It has to be louder? Or I have to be louder? Okay. Okay. I'm Kate Braystrup. I'm the chaplain to the Maine Warden Service, which was the agency primarily responsible for the search, which is how I got to know the Adams family. I want to welcome everybody here. You're a beautiful group. And I wanted to let you know that we are here tonight to tell a love story. Derek Adams came into the world, became part of a family and part of this community, dwelled with us for 46 years, and then we lost him. Or he lost himself. It wasn't clear. And so hope and despair have done their uncomfortable dance within our minds as the days turned into weeks and months and seasons. So it might feel strange today to welcome the discovery of what we strongly believe to be Derek's remains. But there are those who never find the missing. And we can be glad that we are not among these. We can be relieved as well to feel able at long last to see this situation clearly, to mourn Derek frankly, and name ourselves at last bereaved. And so we gather together here in this beautiful place as mourners, remembering Derek, celebrating Derek, and telling his story, beginning, middle, and end. Will you join me in the spirit of prayer? Gracious God, we are gathered together in your presence, whose name and being is love, to remember our own Derek lost and found, to recall him as he was, to recall who we were, and to recall ourselves to who we now are, because we knew and loved him. Amen.
Hello. I'm Pastor Cindy Christie of the Rumford Point Church. I've been asked to read a poem by Edgar Guest, and it is called To All Parents. I'll lend you for a while a child of mine, he said, for you to love the while he lives and mourn for when he's dead. It may be 6 or 7 years, or 22 or 3. But will you, till I call him back, take care of him for me? He'll bring his charms to gladden you, and should his stay be brief, you'll have his lovely memories as solace for your grief. I cannot promise he will stay, since all from earth return. But there are lessons taught down there I want this child to learn. I've looked the wide world over in my search for teachers true, and from the throngs that crowd life's lane, I have chosen you. Now will you give him all your love, not think the labor vain, nor hate me when I come to call and take him back again? I fancied that I heard them say, Dear Lord, thy will be done. For all the joy thy child shall bring, the risk of grief we run. We'll shelter him with tenderness, we'll love him while we may, and for the happiness we've known, forever grateful stay. But should the angels call for him much sooner than we planned, we'll brave the bitter grief that comes and try to understand. This is the candle that we lit at church for Derek after he went missing. It has remained lit every day and night since then. Within our hearts and spirits, we carry our love for Derek, and tonight we each light a candle of remembrance to make that love visible to all. Following my candle, if you have not already lit yours, I will begin over on this side, and lifting it high, I will guide you. Light them if they're not. Let each of us add our candlelight, one by one, to the others, until we are no longer separate, but one, united in love. Any more? Amen. Dave?
How does this thing work anyway?
Hold it.
That's a bright light. Welcome to all of you folks. It's just wonderful to see the candle lights and the people that are behind those candles. It's like kind of like old home week for me. I spent a number of years here at Black Mountain.
Hold it closer.
Is what?
Louder.
Louder. I never had a problem being too soft. When Dottie asked me to, if I would like to speak, of course I felt very honored to do so. And then she came along and says, well, you have 5 minutes. So I had a 20-minute speech prepared, but I managed to cut that down to 19 minutes and 19 pages. My friend Peggy and I would like to offer condolences to the family and to all of you who are saddened by this tragic loss. My thanks also to the wardens and the search and rescue people and all of you that were involved in the search for Derek. And I think there's something else on my paper. Let's see. Whoa. Good, wonderful. You like the shuffling of paper? In this morning's paper, something was said about bringing Derek home. And that's exactly what you folks will help us all do this evening. And perhaps it will provide a little closure to the family and to all of us. But on the other hand, there's something else that closure in one respect, but yet the loss of any hope that Derek would be found alive, however slim that might have been. So it's a little bit of a two-edged sword. And then you have the issue of, and I'm sure some of you have gone through this, could I have done anything to help? Is there anything that I could have done that would have made a difference? And so there's that emotion that needs to be dealt with over and over as well. We suffer losses all of our lives. They might be as simple as, your teddy bear loses its eyes, or maybe there's a toy that's been run over or broken. And then there are academic losses, athletic losses. Any Red Sox fans? I think we've grown pretty used to losing, so sometimes it's not so bad. As we get older, we have broken romances, serious losses along those lines, losses of bodily health, losses of mental health. We lose our independence as we get older. Taking away somebody's privilege of driving is pretty profound. So we have dealt with losses and will continue to deal with losses all of our life. And it's up to us to prepare and develop some mental resiliency to deal with those losses. And I hope that we have done our preparation over the years. But I can't imagine the sense of loss that goes with a tragedy of this magnitude. I don't think there's any way we can prepare for that, in fact. I've known Derek a little bit, primarily during his high school years, a little before, a little afterward. And one of the things that, of course, I worked with him here on the ski slope for several years, and Derek was an extremely hard-working skier. Hard work was part of what Derek did, and we should remember him for that quality, for sure. But there's another. I worked with him in another area. He was a member of Troop 509 in Rumford Point, and you may have seen the badge that was on the table in there, that Eagle Scout badge. Well, Derek earned the Eagle Scout badge, and a lot of effort went into that, and a lot of learning. He was very good at learning from others and teaching others himself. Let me point out some of the things that a scout is, an Eagle Scout as well. A scout is trustworthy, and I can remember when Derek came to paint my house about 10 years ago, we paid him so that he could buy some supplies and whatever, and he certainly was worthy of our trust. He did a magnificent job. And sometimes at night, by the light of a headlamp mounted on his head, he would be up on that ladder painting away. It was cooler then. Loyal. He was an extremely loyal young man. No bad mouthing, no backstabbing. A very well brought up individual. Helpful, I think, was his middle name. I learned this pretty much through the Scouts. Anything that needed to be done, he was right on it. He was always looking around for things that needed to be done as well. Friendly, I need not say much about that. We all know of his friendliness. Courteous, always respectful, very kind. No kinder person existed. Obedient. Now, I can't speak to obedience as far as the home is concerned. We as parents know how that functions. I have a son here somewhere, and I hope he takes it the right way. He's bigger than I am. But he was always extremely respectful and obedient in my working with him. And his father worked as a scout leader as well. So it was a wonderful situation. Courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful. Cheerful he was. Always something going behind, in the background a little bit, but always cheerful. Brave. I felt that he met the challenges of life with a certain daring, and that would count for me as being very brave. As far as being reverent, I can remember he grew up in our church, and I don't know what his eventual spirituality was, but I can remember an incident in church fairly recently. He would come in with his parents, and always, as he'd work his way through the crowd to come and shake my hand and give me that infectious little smile of his. That meant a lot to both of us, I think. Well, as we leave here later on, I hope that this is the start of some real healing for the family and for us all. That would be my wish for you this evening. Thank you very much.
It's kind of fitting. I just remembered while Dave was talking about his middle name. His middle name is Christian, was Christian. And I can remember Dottie yelling at him when we were in trouble. Derek, Christian Adams. Because we got in trouble a fair amount. Derek was my first best friend. Sorry. I can remember I have a lot of memories. He will forever, you will forever be a part of me. I can remember my first sleepover at the Adams house. And it's interesting, I was just thinking of it last night, the lava light in the living room. My children now have lava lights, and I'm captivated by them. And as I was looking at my daughter's lava lamp last night, I was remembering my first sleepovers in your living room. And while I was asked to speak here this evening, I was running through some of the memories that I have of spending time. I know Derek in his very early days, youth, growing up in the small town of Hanover, and we were very close, and we spent virtually every day together, all day in the woods. And so, to me, Derek, in the end, was back at home in the woods. And there was a fair amount of beauty for me in that. He to me, was born and raised in the woods. We spent countless hours hiking up and down the Howard Pond stream catching brook trout. We'd pull brook trout out by the dozens and take them home and clean them and fry them in the pan. Those were some of our better activities. We also would rake leaves in the fall, and because we thought fire was somewhat captivating, we would decide to put a match.
Just back away from the...
Speaker feedback.
Yeah, there you go.
We would decide to put a match to the pile of leaves after we've raked it up. And more than one or two got away from us. So we were quite lucky that we didn't burn the forest down. Thankfully, we live in Maine where it's pretty difficult to do. If that wasn't enough, we also discovered that you could light the pitch on the side of a pine tree on fire. That seemed like an interesting proposition as well. So we did that more than once and then found that it would run up the tree. And it's a wonder we didn't light the forest on fire. We really did have amazing times together. And he was one of the most unwaveringly supportive and beautiful people I've ever known in my life. He was as true a friend as I've known ever, and set the standard for friendship for me. A truly beautiful individual. The story that I think is maybe most remembered is how one day we were riding bicycles. We rode a lot of bicycles. And we decided to ride bikes around his house, and we built some jumps here and there. And there's no way you won't remember this. I'm sure you know well. So we decided building a jump was the thing to do, and the bigger jump the better. So we found a sheet of plywood in Herb's garage and decided that would prop up against the split rail fence very well. But being very young kids and not understanding plywood and its flexibility, we just propped it up on the split rail fence and thought, oh, that looks like a nice jump. Well, it's a pretty big jump. And I was nervous, so we debated, who's going to go first? Should it be me? Should it be you? I said, I don't think I'm doing it. You're crazy. And he said, all right. So he gets all the way back, because it's pretty big just to get up over the end of it. You have to get a run up at it. So he went way back at the end of the driveway and came sprinting at the jump. And as he hit the plywood, as anybody might expect, the plywood bent like this. And when it bent, it shot Derek way up. And I remember looking at him. Oh my God. And he must have been, I don't know, 5 feet off the ground easily. And he let go of his bike. And then there was no bike underneath him, just him in the air. And he came down right on his tailbone. Whack. And I'm not kidding, he broke his ass. There's no other way to say it. He separated his tailbone. And it was awful. And Jen Goddard, I ran to Jen Goddard. He couldn't move, and I was screaming in pain. I had to ride my bike as fast as I could to Jen Goddard and get her to come, and we loaded him in the car, the back of the Subaru, and drove him to the hospital. Thankfully, he recovered from that and went on to a great high school career as a skier and athlete, and had more wonderfully adventurous times. As we grew older, he was still a great friend through high school, and later I moved west and he was east, and we weren't as close. But Derek for me is always a piece of my soul, and his spirit to me will always be here at Black Mountain and in these woods. Thank you all for being here, for remembering Derek.
Good evening. I only want to say a few words, and it starts back with Herb and Dottie, Herb being our coach, and I know there's a lot of you here tonight that had the pleasure of skiing for him and the support that Dottie gave us. For me, I also got to watch Aaron and Derek grow up in the later years, and it was really a joy to know them. I really had personal actions with Derek primarily when my wife Barb was the ski coach for the middle school and Derek was the cross-country coach. I was the gopher that would do whatever to help the kids in what I was told. And I spent a little bit of time with Derek waxing skis and also getting the kids ready for the race. But what I remembered mostly about Derek was his calmness and his demeanor with the athletes. He treated everyone equally, regardless of their ability, and more importantly, he had a passion for the sport, and he wanted to share that with every kid that came close to him. So that's what I'll always remember about Derek.
Well, now that you've taken most of what I was going to say, I knew Derek through coaching, as Roger said. He was a cross-country coach, and I was the alpine coach. Although he helped me a lot on the alpine hill, as well as I tried to help him on the cross-country. We had a great rapport. Derek didn't say very much, but I always knew when he was happy and pleased because I'd see a little twinkle in his eye and a little smile out of the corner of his mouth. And he would go along with his business and just waxing the skis or doing whatever. It was one day, though, that I came out on the cross-country trail, and there was Derek with all the students, and they had been skiing, and they came into the arena, and I looked, and they were all down on the ground, and I thought, this is just before a state meet. What are we doing, Derek? I didn't say anything, though, and I just watched, and there were all the kids beside him, and I thought, why on the ground? We're not gaining anything by just looking on the ground and feeling for things. Lo and behold, Derek had lost one of the lenses in his glasses, and all the kids were down there helping him try to find it. He couldn't see where he was going or anything, and the kids are trying to help him. They did find the glass, and Derek had a smile, and he thanked all of them, but he went upon his business, waxing the skis and everything, and we went on to do well in the state meet, thanks to Derek, because he did teach the kids well. He worked with each and every one of them, like Roger said. And even though some of them were a less ability, a less experience, he worked with them equally as well and just as hard. He treated everybody alike, and I like that in Derek, and I'll always remember him. He was a coach. We started as coaching together, and we ended up as friends.
I'm Derek's aunt. I'm Aunt Norma. I'm Dottie's sister. One of the biggest things that I remember, and the most touching things I remember about Derek, is his genuine love for people and people that he met. Whenever he came to our house, and he often stopped by, because he mowed the cemetery at the Songo Cemetery, and he did such a great job. But he would always stop because we kept the lawnmower in the garage. But he would always come in, and he always greeted us with a hug, and it was like, "Hi, Aunt Norma," or "Hi, Uncle David." You know, it was just genuine love that he showed for us, and any animal or dogs that happened to be in the house, he gravitated to. Tonight I'm going to read a letter. I hope I can get through it. This letter was written by Dottie to Derek as part of a healing process for the tremendous grief that they've suffered over the last few months. How many things can I hold here? Dear Derek, you were such a beautiful Gerber baby when we got you at 4.5 months. You were very active as you grew up, busy climbing trees and many other things, catching fish in the little brook and putting them in your pockets to bring home. You loved the pets we had, cats, dogs, bunnies, though you weren't too sure of Aaron's guinea pig. Poor thing. You were very inquisitive and creative, even having a creative vocabulary like albony and footnail. You developed your creativity as you grew right into adulthood. While a toddler, you suddenly had an imaginary friend. I hope I say his name right. Johnny Pacey, who walked and talked with you in our backyard. Years later, we discovered there really was a big league football player with that very same name. Moments like those became joys to remember, and you were resourceful. One day in Mammoth Mart, when you were 3 or 4, you suddenly got tired of me looking at the toys while I shopped, for I suddenly heard a loudspeaker call, "Would Dorothy Adams please come to the service desk?" Many years later, as a Boy Scout, we put you on a bus in Portland with many other Scouts en route to Fort A.P. Hill for the National Boy Scout Jamboree. As the bus pulled out, I suddenly remembered I had forgotten to tell you how to call home, should the need arise. Well, I needn't have worried. You were still resourceful enough to figure that out, too. I remember a lot of the boys around us joined Cub Scouts and played baseball. The ball playing became a little stressful, but with scoutings, camping, and outdoor activities, Pinewood Derbies, badge work, and Eagle Scout projects of 2 warming huts for Chisholm Ski Club to use on the cross-country race trails, there was much fun as well as work, though we remember much prodding to get things completed. At the end, your Eagle project was a great source of pride for you as well as for us. Being outside was always your preference. Inside often meant taking things apart and never putting them back together. You were on your first pair of skis at age 2, skiing Bill Koch, cross-country league in Andover at age 4 through elementary school, then alpine and cross-country through Rumford High School and Maine State Championships. Cross-country was where you really excelled. Also, you wanted to ski at Sunday River well enough that you got a job there so you could get a pass through high school. One of your first jobs was teaching little ones to ski. I'll never forget the day you came home and said, "Guess what, Mom? You'll never believe it. One little kid falls down and the rest just ski right over him like he wasn't even there." Since we had a camp at Howard Pond, you learned to love the water at a very young age. Swimming, water skiing, and sailing were things you absolutely loved. You were lucky to take Red Cross swimming lessons at the pond. Remember being Peanut to Karen, your instructor? And soon you were on Rick Green's swim team in Rumford. Camp surely was your favorite place to be. Those were the good old days. Though snow skiing, water skiing, swimming and sailing and fishing became lifelong loves for you. I'm sorry school was hard for you. But finally, as a high school senior, you found your niche in Elmer Lyons' class at Rumford High School. Yay! We were so happy for you. Unhappily, college did not work out for you, even with drafting as the goal. But then came the ski undersuit program at UMF, which seemed a really good fit for you. I was really disappointed when you didn't quite finish that before following the lure of friends headed west to California. But you landed in the beautiful town of South Lake Tahoe and quickly found a casino job in which your work ethic was highly praised and you looked so sharp in your work outfit. I was very proud of you when you used your drafting skills to create a workstation cart to make part of the job easier for workers, even though you didn't get proper credit. Later, you headed back to the East Coast and finally back to Hanover and home. A series of traumatic events and evident self-medications led to a serious mental illness diagnosis in 2007. We were scared to death for you. We had no idea what to do, nor how to make things better. The illness took away nearly everything that was you, and I was angry. I had no choice but to educate myself, and I'm still trying to educate others through NAMI Maine, in order to try to make life better for you. I'm so sorry there was so much I did not know. Much of the time, oops, the light is going out. Much of the time I didn't know. I didn't feel that I handled it well at all, but at the time I did the best I could and prayed. I know you did not like living with the effects of a mental illness. Thank you. Or the meds, nor the feeling of being so controlled by others. My heart breaks for you, and I think especially for the isolation and loneliness that came with it. Most people really don't know what to say or do, so they tend to stay away altogether. I am trying, and I will continue to try so hard to work with NAMI and local mental health agencies to try to make some dents in making life better for others in your situation. And there are many around us. I will do anything I can to honor your kind, caring soul who wouldn't intentionally hurt a flea and who saw good in every single living thing. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. From Love You Forever by Robert Munch. Love you, Mom.
I'm Sandra Withy, and I'm pastor at the Lock Mills Church. And I pastored the Rumford Point Church for a short period of time, and that's where I met Derek. So Derek grew up pretty much as other kids grow up here in Maine. He was outdoors, he was outgoing, he was gifted in that he could talk to anybody. And there are many of us that don't have that gift. We're a little shy when it comes to just walking up to people we never met. We already know he was a Boy Scout and an Eagle Scout at that. He was very loyal to his friends. He worried about his friends and his family, and he put himself out to go the extra mile to help somebody that needed him. After high school, things started to change for Derek. He moved away to California for a while and then back to Massachusetts. He still continued to enjoy the outdoors and did many things that others his age will probably never, ever experience. He enjoyed hiking, skiing, those things in Lake Tahoe along with working. And when he moved to Massachusetts, he even drove a Zamboni. You know, those things that put the ice on the ice rink? And that's not an easy thing to do. But Derek had begun to have some issues, which may have started, as Dottie said in her letter, with a series of traumatic events. He was trying to cope with them, with the early symptoms, by self-medicating. And this began to spiral downward. Family and friends did their best to help him, but not knowing how to react to his changes in mood and his behavior, his friends began to withdraw. And in 2007, when he was diagnosed, people knew that this was serious. He suffered from anxiety and a racing of thoughts. Even in his illness, when he was taking his meds, you could still, once in a while, find the true Derek there. I didn't know him before his illness. I have only known him since his illness. And no matter where we were, he always took the time to find me, to seek me out, and to talk to me, and to ask me how my day was going, when I know that many times his day was much worse than mine. And so, for Derek, I want to speak out to people that struggle with mental illness. And I have no doubt that in this crowd of people here, there are other people who also struggle with mental illness. And the options for people with mental illness are few and far between these days. And Dottie has done an incredible job educating people in the community. She offers classes all over the place, and I know of many people that have taken them. And we can offer classes and we can offer people the knowledge to help deal with this. But we also have to get people that can do something about it to be able to offer people providers that know how to deal with mental illness and find facilities that they can stay in. Often people with mental illness present to an ER and they are there for days before there is some place that they can go to seek treatment that they should. And Dottie had asked me to speak out about this so that we together, not just Dottie, but that we can educate people on how to deal with people with mental illness. Because it doesn't change the fact that they are a loved one when they have mental illness. We all still have to learn how to help the best we can. And we're not perfect. I'd like to read to you 2 verses from a song called Help Us Accept Each Other that particularly remind me of how it is that we should care for each other and how Derek cared for all of us. Help us accept each other as Christ accepted us. Teach us as sister, brother, each person to embrace. Be present, God, among us, and bring us to believe we are ourselves accepted and meant to learn and live. Teach us, O God, your lessons, as in our daily life we struggle to be human and search for hope and faith. Teach us to care for people, for all, not just for some, to love them as we find them or as they may become. And we all loved Derek through everything because he was special.
On the backs of your order of service, there are the words to the song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Are we going to sing it a cappella?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Oh, we are?
Want to? We can sing. Ready? Okay, you start. Okay. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. I just want to mention one more thing about your program. If you look on the front, you'll see a skier, an alpine skier. If you look on the back, you see a cross-country skier, a fisherman, a bicyclist, somebody that enjoyed the forest or a tree climber, a hiker, a water skier, and a Boy Scout. All of those represent different parts of Derek and who he was.
I'm so glad we did this here. I'll always think of Derek flying down the mountain. I'm sure there's a ski slope in heaven. And a nice brook with no bag limit for trout. Join me again in a spirit of prayer. Oh God, we close in gratitude. Gratitude for Derek's life, for the joys life gave to him and the joys he brought to us. Gratitude for the love that has carried us all the way to this day together. We are grateful for Derek's advocates, his physicians and caregivers. We are grateful for the researchers endeavoring to solve the mystery of mental illness. When they succeed in conquering it, because we have known Derek, we will know that day to be a miracle. May it come soon. We ask blessings for all who suffer from mental illness, however their lives progress, however their lives end, may they be held in love, and may they find peace. May there be tenderness in this community's embrace of Derek's family. May a humble spirit inform our words and inspire our best and most attentive listening as we walk with them along the hard and necessary road that lies ahead. May we yield with confidence to sorrow, knowing that pain does pass and sorrow ends, but love does not die and will not end. Love abides in us, around us, and beyond us, forever and ever. So vaya con Dios, dear Derek, go with God. Having gathered you in, we may now let you go. We have loved thee on earth. May we meet thee in heaven. Amen. And now everyone is invited to come down and share food and memories inside. Thank you.